you so much.
Thanks for the information. Okay, Nelson, you ready to talk about the Constitution?
Yes.
Do you prefer to do it from the view back here?
This seems to be okay.
Okay, do you want to share?
That worked out well. Yeah.
Thank you.
One second.
Okay. So Nelson's going to talk for about an hour, and then Glenn's going to take it from 1 to 3.
Let me get a second chair.
Yeah, very good.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Nelson. I am a Pennsylvanian, and my posterity goes back to 1719, and I have two relatives at least that were enrolled and volunteered for the Revolutionary War. Based upon that, I think that gives me a certain level of protection when we are being attacked by the martial law government that is currently involved in our occupation. I wanted to start off with a comment about the gold fringe flag. Who wants to tell me what the gold fringe flag means to them and why it might matter with regard to our freedom?
The gold fringe flag, first of all, you have to understand what an infringed flag is. It's a captured flag. So the pirates used to go aboard other people's ships, and they would, board their ship, take their booty or whatever, and take their flag, and they'd sew fringes around it. And then they raise it up to Jolly Roger, like, look who we got, all right? And so, what I mean by captured is in 1871, the United States became a corporation and exists in a file cabinet in the city of London. As far as I know, that corporation is bankrupt at this point, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. Anybody else? Ned?
So was it first grade, 1817?
Yeah.
First appear?
Yes. So, gold fringe flag to me means that it has to do with also admiralty law, which is
Speak up, speak up.
gold fringe flag to me represents admiralty law, which is the law of the water, which has to do with commerce and things like that as well. But it's a military flag, and like he's saying, it's captured. But when they fly that in a course, they're saying it's a military installation. And through the IRS books and stuff, they say that our Congress gave up our sovereignty to the UN, and that our congressmen and judges have taken an oath and a bond which is tied to the UN as peace officers.
Can you prove that fact?
It's in the IRS stuff. I have it. I'll bring it.
Please.
And they actually say that they're peace officers. They're not.
Repeat what you're saying is fact in an IRS.
It's out of the IRS manual talking about why they're allowed to do taxes, and for somebody to be an IRS agent, the judges also are included in this. They have to give up their sovereignty and then, or their citizenship, and then they have to take an oath, and they take and have a bond, and it's to the UN. And so that makes them peace officers and not judges. That's why they have qualified immunity. So that's the ruse. And so when they say they're federal of the UN. So our courts are federal territories of the UN. But also with that gold French flag, it means that they're also a military installation.
So the US was.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Was that?
Speak
The
into the
UN was
microphone.
established in the 1940s?
Have him speak into the
Yes.
microphone.
Okay, so this happened at that point in time?
Yes.
So before that, we didn't have that? Microphone.
Guys, talk to the phone.
So, yes, the UN, I forget, I don't know the date, but it was after the World War II, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was like September 7th, 1945, and then the contract was initiated 3 months, 90 days, and Pearl Harbor happened on the 90th day. And then, you know, they've been established in the IRS way before that, but they, you know,
Right.
yeah.
That was part of the 1913.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll bring the stuff. I have it.
Or you can email it to your groups.
Yes, that's fine. Or I'll give it to Darren. He can do it.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good information.
If you want to, anyone wants to jot this down and help me confirm and nail these people down, this is research that you can help us with. It's Army Regulation 840-10. And it is entitled This is a 1998 unclassified Army Regulation Manual. Flags, weedons maybe, streamers, tabards, and automobile and aircraft plates. Heraldic activities, Department of the Army, Washington, D.C. The one point I'm going to make out of this is it talks about the gold fringe flag, where it is permitted to fly. So where I'm heading at the moment is not to ever appear in any court that has a gold fringe flag, which I believe is all of them. I've been successful in defeating a municipal judge not going into his courtroom because my understanding is the gold fringe flag, yes, it's a military, it only belongs on a military installation. If that's true, who gave the authority for this judge in the municipal courtroom to fly this gold fringe flag? Did the U.S. Army grant them that authority? What I'm pursuing is no. I can't prove it yet, but I'm going to be checking with the Army to have them explain to me why a gold fringe flag is in the courtroom. In my local city council, for over a year, I would not stand for the declaration for the Pledge of Allegiance because there was a gold fringe flag in the left-hand corner from the audience perspective. They are right.
And probably a braid, right, that was in red, white, and blue coming out of it, which
No, I think the red and blue and the white is, if you check out Army Regulation Manual AR 840-10, Section 2, it will tell you what the tassel colors mean, what office. It's the office of the president. So no, it won't be blue and red and white.
but supposedly that means also it's Vatican banking.
It may be. Now, my current everything's my current understanding. So I can tell you a fact that after a year of not standing up, and many veterans and friends of veterans almost coming to tears because Nelson refused to honor the flag.
That was created, the Pledge of Allegiance was created under Lincoln, all right, which Lincoln was the first bar member, all right.
I don't know that's a fact. The Pledge of Allegiance, my understanding, was late 1800s.
Yes, and it was written by a socialist,
Okay.
right? So they want you to pledge allegiance to the war flag.
Okay, so the flag that they were referring to at the time is the flag of war for the United States of America, which is our Old Glory. That's what was flying over Fort Henry or McHenry down in Baltimore when the 1814 battle was fought, where the Stars and Stripes. Francis Scott Key wrote the anthem. So the point I'm going to make is that after over a year, someone, and I had asked them, I said, I'm not standing, because I'd get up and make my public comment for 3 to 5 minutes, and I would often include why I'm not standing. I brought everyone's attention to the unlawful flag in the public space. And I asked them, I said, if you would please just put up a genuine flag, then I'll stand. You can have both of them up there, but at least put my flag up there. Otherwise, I refuse to stand. Long story short, about 2 months ago, they replaced the gold fringe flag in City Council chambers, and there is now a non-fringe flag. And the second point I'm going to make about the gold fringe flag is when I did not accept a order to appear under a summons to a municipal court. A warrant was issued for my arrest. I refused to pay a bail. They put me in county jail. They let me out 23 hours later. They sent me another warrant. I ignored it. I returned the summons to the city solicitor and the president of the council, who now is bound by the flag with no gold fringe. So they'll be committing a war crime against me under the gold fringe. So think about it. Who approaches us on the street or when they our cars? It's someone with a gold fringe flag on their shoulder, correct? So they're telling us that they are under military authority. My goal is to actually eliminate all gold fringe flag from my municipality. I don't know if that can happen. I've gone to the school board. I said, I see gold fringe flags all over this high school. Why are they here? Are you in violation?
And they have the ball on the top of the thing, which means it could be a used for military encampment.
It depends on, you have to look at each staff in order to determine what they're telegraphing. I can tell you that when me and Glenn went out on a field trip, they actually changed that flag right before he held his last Northeast Private Information Share. And during the day, we went to the city council chambers to get a close-up look at the new flag. It was still wrinkled because it wasn't hanging for years. And there was what appeared to be like a silver eagle at the top. I'm not sure what that means. I need to do some more study.
Well, the silver eagle, you got wings up, you got wings down, which is they kept referring to Trump as a, we call it a phoenix coming up out of the ashes.
Okay, so I'm going to get to the Constitution. The reason why I'm bringing you this information is if one wants, yes, Ned.
My research for the gold fringe flag is going to see if it's tied to the UN.
Good.
Because I think because our police officers have UN rank,
Yeah, that's where they get their power from.
and so they also have the gold fringe patch on their shoulders.
Right, so the question is, have we, the people, small p or big P, it doesn't matter, the states, have we surrendered our sovereignty in any manner to this occupation? Most of us here would say no.
But according to IRS, they say that Congress gave up our sovereignty to the UN.
Who authorized
That's
that?
the District of Columbia. That's not the
That's
rest
the
of
District of Columbia, which Glenn has brought out, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, which means that the codes of District of Columbia, regulations, statutes may not be
That's under the
administered,
Commerce Clause.
not be administered outside the 10 miles, up to 10 miles square of Washington, D.C. So how does that help us when they attack us, when they falsely arrest us, charge us, jail us, ticket us, take our property, and this is what we're currently working on. So my goal is to bring in the Army to put them
Yes.
back where they belong because
Because then we can call in peace,
who
right, baby?
can tell me how many constitutions there are at least?
What's that?
How many constitutions are there at least?
2.
Correct. What are they called?
One is the Constitution of the United States, and the other one is the Constitution of the United States of America.
Correct. Ned stated the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the United States of America. So if there are 2 constitutions, are we confused? I would say yes. And that's what we're trying to do, is unravel this fact in order to become unconfused. I think there's good reasons why there are 2 constitutions. I actually think it's not a bad thing, but we have to understand which constitution gives what authority to whom, and we, the people, have not surrendered our authority to either constitution. We stand over the Constitution. So what I'm going to talk about today, first I'm going to read you out loud where a gold fringe flag is mentioned in this Army Regulation Manual 840-10, Section 2.
Can you say that slower?
Which part?
Army
No,
manual?
what's this? Yeah.
Army Regulation Manual
840.
840-10. National flags listed below are for indoor display. Remember, this is an Army Regulation Manual. What is that? What would that have to do with the public? National flags listed below are for indoor display and for use in ceremonies or parades. For these purposes, the flag of the United States will be of rayon banner cloth or heavyweight nylon, trimmed on 3 sides with gold yellow fringe 2.5 inches wide. That's what we see in the courtrooms. That's what we see in city halls. That's what we see flying in schools.
Trump's sitting in front of us.
Okay, I don't have a problem with Trump in front of a gold fringe flag. Why? Why should we not have a problem with that? Because the United States Congress is the authority over the military. And he is the executive to execute congressional statutes in Washington, D.C., and anywhere that authority extends. But does the president have authority over me out here in Texas just because he wants to? No. He's bound by the Constitution. That's why the Founding Fathers agonized over what to place in the Constitution. And of course, I'll repeat for those who weren't here, who can tell me what the 4 founding documents which are referred to as organic law? What is the organic law of this country? Who can tell me?
Articles of Confederation.
No, give it to me in order,
Oh, it is
please.
in order. Sorry.
And a date.
That's not fair.
Okay, anybody else?
I'll give you the first hint. The first hint is 1776. Who wants to give us that?
Declaration, the first one is the Articles of Confederate. No.
Declaration of Independence.
We claim to be sovereign. Who can answer the question?
1776, Declaration of Independence.
Yeah. Well, the year, but the first one was Articles of the
Incorrect.
in the Northwest Ordinance.
Incorrect.
And then the Declaration.
Incorrect. The first one, Darren. Declaration of Independence. What date was that agreed to?
No, it's 1776.
Okay, July 4th,
Yeah,
right?
it was actually written a month before.
Okay, but it's the Declaration of Independence. That is the first document of the organic law, not plural laws. It's the organic law. This is written, and if you go to house.gov and put in there front matter, organic law, this information will come up, and it's fun to go and look at it because now I know where I stand. I stand under the organic law. Okay. What is the second document, and what year was that originally agreed to of organic law?
I know it's the Articles of Confederation,
Yeah.
but I think it was,
I believe that was, the Articles of Confederation was actually 1781. No?
Not bad. It was finally agreed by all parties in 1781. Maryland, the only Catholic colony, finally submitted in 1781. Some of us, I should say myself, I believe it was a method to bring the power of the Vatican over D.C. Maryland held out until everything was worked out behind closed doors. But what year was the original? Okay, the war's on. It's 1776. We need a government. When was the Articles of Confederation signed originally?
1777.
1777. When was the conclusion of the Revolutionary War? What year?
1789.
Incorrect.
87.
Incorrect. Are we sovereigns here? Who's claiming to be a sovereign? I am. But we need to figure out what dates prove we're sovereign. If you can't articulate the organic law, the original law of who we are as Americans, 1776, Declaration of Independence. 1777, Articles of Confederation. Treaty of Peace. 1783. How many years before the Constitution was signed from 1783 to 1787?
6.
How many years from 1783 to 1787?
4.
Okay. Now, Ned, we know you stay up all night, so we're forgiving you, okay? So why is that important? Because the Articles of Confederation were written during the fog of war. They weren't designed to bring a great nation into fruition. So for 4 years, we were trying to make it work with the Articles of Confederation between the 13 colonies that became a union in 1776. Hold on, sir. What's your name?
Rick. Yeah. Was the Articles of Confederation ever amended or changed?
I'll answer that question before the end.
You can't answer now.
No, it's never been changed.
Okay.
It's never been some of the parts of it are no longer can no longer be activated only because they just don't apply. But I'll answer your question now, since you asked it. What does Article 6 of the Constitution say in the first clause? If you go home and read this, Article 6, Clause 1, it refers to the Confederation in the Constitution. So most people, I was taught in grammar school, the Confederation the Confederation is no more. It's not true. if the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union of 1777 are still active, then if they're mentioned in the Constitution in Article 6, Clause 1, if they're part of the organic law, then why would Congress have them listed as organic law if they're not part of today? It is part of today, and here's the proof. Article 6, Clause 1 is my favorite clause in the Constitution. And here's why. It says, all debts, it's short, all debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution, which is the Constitution of the United States, I refer to it as the original Constitution. So people attacking me cannot presume I'm talking about some other Constitution. My Constitution is the original Constitution. However they want to make it not work, that's their problem. I claim for original Constitution. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution, which was September of 1787, shall be as valid, that's an engagement, shall be as valid against the United States. Why are we having to be against the United States? Aren't we part of the United States?
Yeah, but we the people, and there are servants to follow that.
This is limiting the government. We the people stand over this Constitution. This is limiting the powers of the maniacal agencies that Leonard talked about. How to stop the regulation? It's a problem because the regulations come from Washington, D.C. They come from the states from Washington, D.C. They filter down to commerce. Glenn mentions that the Commerce Clause, which is Article 1, Section 8, I believe Clause 3 or 5. Glenn, do you know which one it is?
Clause 3.
Clause 3. I'll probably mention it shortly. But, okay, so back to my favorite, Article 6, Clause 1. And I have memorized it. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation. Today, as under the Confederation, debts and engagements entered into shall be as valid against the United States. Who can tell me where the United States is?
In the file cabinet in the city of London.
The name is there, but where's the geographical, what geography, what geographical land?
To 10 square miles.
Up to 10 square miles. And where else?
The territories,
Yes. and-
federal buildings.
and yes. How about in Bedford? Show me Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, Washington, D.C., legitimate land where there's power from Congress on that land in Bedford.
Post office.
That is correct. And guess what has to happen for a post office to be legitimate on that land?
The right flag.
First thing that has to happen is that the state legislature has to grant CEDE, that land, to the federal government. The federal government has to accept it. And in my hometown, I'm like, all right, let me find out. New Jersey, where I'm living now, the domicile. Fact. The post office in the hometown I'm at, there was a 1930-some or 40-some act of the New Jersey legislature ceding that property to the United States. I might have said the United States of America. Because in my view, the difference between the United States of America and the United States is this. The United States of America is my country. The United States is the government. The seat of government. That's the United States. And that goes to, of course, your comment, Jason, about it's in a filing cabinet. They created a corporation after the Civil War, etc. Now, what about the United States? Is that different than the United States? I say it is. How could that be? What, in my mind, might be the United States? It is
Us.
no. The United States is the geographical territory. So the United States would include all geographical territory, both non-United States government land and our land. State land, our land, public lands, private lands, that's all the United States. So geographically. So, what are the engagements, what are some of the engagements that Article 6, Clause 1 may be referring to? My understanding, before the adoption of this Constitution of 1787, why am I bringing you back to the organic law and harping on the dates? There's a reason I'm doing it. Because 1776 is before 1787. That's an engagement, the Declaration of Independence. Was 1777 an engagement before 1787, this Constitution? Yes. The Treaty of Peace, 1783, that was also before, but that wasn't an engagement. I'm not sure that's an engagement. Actually, it is, I guess, an engagement entered into. Aaron, you might have a visit, I don't know. So the engagement entered into, did we engage in an agreement between us and the founding, the Treaty of Peace of 1783? I would say possibly. Okay, so now we get to my favorite part. I love the Declaration of Independence. I love the Articles of Confederation. But one of my favorite parts, and I never did end up reading about the gold fringe flag, but I want to make sure I get these other pieces to you because they're very, very important regarding absorbing why we are sovereign. The sovereignty, we can't give up our sovereignty, even if we wanted to. We can't sign it away. It's unalienable. That means I can't even alienate myself. If I do, by mistake, guess what? I say, sorry, no good, under unalienable rights. You can't put a lien on me or my property, life, liberty, or property based on one of the organic law, the first document of the organic law. So this is the Northwest Ordinance. Officially titled, this is July 13th, 1787, an engagement before this Constitution, 2 months later. 2 months later. So the Founding Fathers understood history for thousands of years. They understood a republic had never survived. They understood they wanted to form a republican form of government that would survive. So what did they have to do to give us what we need if and when we become suffering from tyrants again, which they knew would happen? They're like, what do we have to do so we don't have to go through this bloodshed again? And that's why they wrote this Constitution. 1787 is, quote, an ordinance for the government of the territory of the United States northwest of the River Ohio. Some call it the Northwest Ordinance. It was adopted July 13, 1787 by the Confederation Congress, the one-house legislature operating under the Articles of Confederation. So the Articles of Confederation government was still functioning July 1787. It was actually still functioning a year later, July of 1788, until such time as the 9th state ratified this Constitution. And they said, okay, guys, we're ready to go. Let's set a date in the future, which is the March 4th, 1789. When we start, that's when Washington was elected or appointed, whatever, however that happened. He was our first president. So, section 14, write this down if you have a pen and paper and care to read where currently we, which I have used this information to survive some assaults, including telling the judge of my municipal court that could get lost. Can you imagine telling a municipal court judge to get lost in public? What would happen to you?
Think you'd get arrested.
Correct. And that is what happened. But then what happened? There's more to the story. Once I understood that, my current understanding, the gold fringe flag is military, yes. It is also commercial. That's the Commerce Clause that Glenn says is being brought outside 10 miles square that they're assaulting us with, based on the FRNs, based on the lawyers, the bar, and all of that.
But as long as we keep referring to us as the all caps name, all right, that's the only thing that they can communicate with. So it's their corporation. They can only deal with you as the corporation, which is your all caps name, which they necromance, which means raises the dead, you into court or summons you into jury duty.
You're absolutely right. The gold fringe flag in the all caps name is a dead entity. The gold fringe flag in the municipal court, my presumption, which I believe now in my mind is a fact, the municipal court is a dead entity. Nothing speaks in it. The judge might be mouthing words. The lawyers might be mouthing words. The people who are appearing after they've been summoned, they summoned me. I agree with you. I'm not dead. You have no authority over me. They said, yes, we do. Bang, in jail. I said, okay, fine. How long do you want me to wait here? Because I refuse to agree to pay bail. B-A-A-L. Bail. I refuse to pay bail. Yes, Ned?
My understanding, the reason why 1871 Constitution came about is because we were getting into, before that we were doing trade across overseas. We were doing commerce trade, and even after the War of 1812, we got into war with the Muslims over because at the top of Africa they were starting to raid our ships and take the crew as slaves, and then over time they got into the war with the Muslims and they actually took over that slave trade route in Africa, and they were having other problems with trade, so that was part of what was leading up to 1871 was supposed to answer some of that after the Civil War, but
Can anybody put it on their list to do some research for the group at some point to get proof of when in the congressional record this 1871 corporation activated? Because I've heard about it, I can only do so much research myself. We were all doing research on various topics. That piece would be a helpful piece, because you're speaking about it and yet you haven't, you can't produce it. So please, it's really good, literally produce it. I need that for my work, please.
Again, repeat what you wanted to look for. When it actually was.
Congressional record of when this figment of our imagination at this point, 1871 corporation.
The Organic Act?
You said, well, that may be, but prove it. Prove that the, what did you call it, the filing cabinet in London is where the United States is. No, I know, but you can say it but until we have evidence, it's only suggested.
And the city of London is its own thing. It's like a Washington DC inside the UK, which the king every year at a certain time has to come rap on the door.
Okay,
They bring him in, or queen.
right,
And
but that doesn't mean ceremonies are built in law.
But just look at it like this, okay? So if you think of like the city of London, they control the contracts around the world, all right? They're the commerce of the world. They control, that's why, kind of like when they want this, that's why they brought the ocean onto the land. How does something to control the seas come on land, you know?
It's,
But,
yes.
but, you know, when you look at the contracts, like if you go to Vietnam.
Wait just a second.
What's that?
Didn't this Constitution permit, didn't we agree, our people that signed the Constitution and the states that ratified it agreed to let the states, let Congress regulate interstate commerce? That's on land, right?
Right.
So what's wrong with that?
Well, one, that
Well,
was,
So commerce can transpire on land. It's not, negative all the time. It would
But
be
they
my-
got everybody tricked into thinking that they're going along with the commerce, right? So that's why they have a driver's license. So driver's license for commercial vehicles. So they tricked everybody into thinking that they're in commerce, you know?
Yes,
and you're thrust into commerce straight out of the womb when your mother informs on you on your birth certificate and gives you up for adoption to the state. And they create the all caps name.
Okay, have you reversed any of that as of now? As with this knowledge you have you reversed what your mother did?
I actually had her grant the registration back to me, all right, because she was the grantor, all right, and so I actually had her fill out a power of attorney and granted it back to me, and I
Okay.
actually filed it in a court, all
Okay.
right, but I haven't attached an affidavit to it.
Okay.
But as far as like writing the Secretary of State and all these people, no.
no, you should be sending it to the Secretary of Treasury in your state where you were born.
Glenn has his hand up.
Glenn, you know.
Hold on one second. I have about 12 minutes left till Glenn takes over.
Okay, so, all that stuff about commerce is a fraud, okay? You're a man, okay, the commerce is for U.S. citizens under international law. And so if you want to say you got forced into commerce, then all I can say is the maximum law caveat emptor, buyer beware, because you're literally in a contract with the devil. And so if you want to participate in that, just better know what you're doing,
Well,
because,
I'm just saying that.
so they didn't force you into anything. It's a fraud and it's a nullity.
Okay, but
And
the
so-
driver's license, the debit card, all this
There's,
has your name on it.
actually, it's all about the evidence that you give against yourself, okay? I got a case going on in federal court right now, and I got an order to do electronic filing, and I went and responded. I said, sure, no problem, I'll do electronic filing when you give me your statutory and delegated authority that requires me to get a driver's license, get a social security number, get a bank account, and oh, by the way, I want a Fourth Amendment warrant that requires me to disclose all that information. And crickets, never heard another word about it. And now every time there's a motion to dismiss the judge, because under their rules, you're supposed to file electronically, and I'm not filing electronically, and under their rules, what happens is if they do a motion to dismiss, the judge gets the motion to dismiss, and he sends an order, and he says, I have here before me a motion to dismiss from the United States of America, or whoever it is. You have until this date to respond, or I might respond without your response. And that's all he says. And every motion to dismiss has been like that. I've gotten all these motions to dismiss, and I've had cases dismissed so fast I didn't have a chance to effect service. Okay, maybe they were doing me a favor by doing that. But anyway, so in this case, I filed that lawsuit in August, and he sent me an order, said that he counted up the days. He said, you have until the 2nd of January to effect service on this. And so he told me exactly when I had to effect service by. So he's babysitting me, and I appreciate it. And so, but all of my orders, all of my, I should say, my paperwork, I call it a requirement. I tell them that I'm posterity as found in the preamble. You're right that in many instances they're UN, okay, but their authority still comes from me. And that which is created can never be greater than that which created it. And no civil law can violate right of blood. And all the laws of Congress and all the laws of Texas are civil laws. And anyways, I point out that in every one of my documents, and he does what I tell him to do, essentially. So I find it quite interesting. And as far as what this gentleman was saying about regulations earlier, what my attitude is under Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2, it says Congress shall have power to make all equal rules and regulations respecting the territory or other property of the United States. So then, think about it. Regulations are for stuff that they own, okay? If you're subject, do you mind if I finish?
Which is the all caps name?
It's regulations are for stuff they own. And so therefore, if you're subject to regulations, you're owned, which means you're a slave. And so don't be subject to the regulations would be my answer to that. And again, that all caps name is a fraud, okay? And that's where you have to go with it. Anyways, here you go, Nelson.
Thank you, Glenn. Okay, Section 14 of the Northwest Ordinance is something we should all memorize, which I have not. I know most of it, but I will. It is hereby ordained. This is 2 months before this Constitution. This is called the Northwest Ordinance, 1787. What was happening was Ohio, Indiana, all that land was owned by Virginia, claimed by Virginia, and Delaware and all the people said, look, we can't have you owning all that land. You'll have too much representation in this new thing we're doing. You got to surrender. They did. But then they put it under Congress until such time as inhabitants would go out there, or citizens like my forefathers, which didn't, but if they did, they would be citizens on congressional-owned land. Because Congress owned no land until they might have had, maybe they had some, places to put ships and bombs and guns and so forth during the Revolutionary War, but they never had actually title to a lot of land like they did once the Northwest Ordinance transpired. So now this Congress was making the rules for this land. So they said, uh-oh, what's going to happen when a maniacal governor gets out there with a bunch of maniacal law enforcement officers and starts attacking free men? It is hereby ordained and declared, this is the Continental Congress, by the authority aforesaid, that the following articles shall be considered as articles of compact between, so they're making a compact, an agreement between common law men and women and states, between the original states and the people and states in the said territory. Now, this word territory is lowercase. Once you get to the Constitution, every time the word territory is written, it's in uppercase. Why? Capitalized, first word, proper case. Why is that? Because anytime a word is capitalized after a first word of a sentence or paragraph, and it may or may not be capitalized, it depends, meaning the meaning. But the meaning of capitalization in a word after the first word means it's subject or under something or someone. So, when Glenn says territory or property belonging to the United States, the territory, capital T, Guam, the all caps name, maybe, is property of the United States. But this territory in Section 14, the The following articles shall be considered as articles of compact between the original states and the people and states in the said territory. Small t, that's the land. And forever remain unalterable unless by common consent. So, the Northwest Ordinance is an engagement before the adoption of this Constitution. It happened in chronological order 2 months before. Why is that important? Because the limiting powers to government of this Constitution, this is limiting their power over me here today on the land. Now, I'm not on Ohio, the old Ohio land, but because of the gold fringe flag authority they're claiming when they approach us, or in Glenn's case when they send him a notice of
Dismissal.
a notice of seizure. They're seizing his land, or attempted to, under the gold fringe flag. So he's saying, sorry, you don't have authority. And he's going essentially against the United States, which is Article 6, Clause 1. So I'm just going to read Article 2 of this Section 14. Section 14 is where the fun starts as far as us. There's a whole lot of the Northwest Ordinance before that. They had a lot to work on until they got to the people that were going to be going out there. It says the inhabitants of the said territory, and these are my favorite words, because they mean I'm still a free man when the Congress attacks me. The inhabitants of the said territory shall always be entitled to the benefits of the writ of habeas corpus and of the trial by jury. Always be entitled. Now, I may have to use those words against the United States, Article 6, Clause 1, which is why the municipal court and the police chief, after 6 arrests, finally stopped arresting me, and somebody may be going to jail because of all the times they totally ignored what I was saying. They were deaf. Like most of us have suffered, right? That's why we're here. Because we've suffered from their tyranny. Okay. Benefit. We're always entitled to the benefits of the habeas corpus and of the trial by jury and of judicial proceedings according to the course of the common law. Why can't the municipal judge bring me in? He can't give me common law. And he said, we'll put you in jail. We'll put a bail on you if you don't want to agree to be coerced to come into my satanic ceremony court, where nothing is alive. They're summoning us, as Jason says correctly. They're summoning us. They're summoning me dead. The name is dead because it's all caps. That's true. It's complete loss of status. Who has watched the movie Gladiator? One for almost everybody. Remember his name was Maximus? Why was it Maximus? What were they telling us? Look up the meaning of the word, the phrase, capitis diminutio maximus. How does that differ than capitis diminutio media? How does that differ from capitis diminutio minimus? It's simply your status is defined on paper by how the name is written. When I was locked up in jail one time, I'm watching a PBS special on slavery in the South, and in South Carolina there was a woman being sold for slavery, and her name in the bill, in the auction paperwork, it was written in all caps. So I can't prove this yet, but I'm pretty sure that a freed slave, when I, as the slave owner, would give the slave the freedom, I would write his new name not in all caps. And how I wrote that name determined what his status was. That's about it. 2 more comments here out of... so the reason why The Northwest Ordinance is part of the organic law, and why it matters today is we don't live in a free state. We live in a court-martial state, a martial law condition. So we have to defend ourselves, and why we're so rabid about correcting our status in advance, like Glenn likes to say, we have to be proactive. You cannot wait for them. We have people right now in jail. 2 of our members are in jail as we speak because they didn't prepare ahead of time properly. So when they felt that they were sovereign, knew that they were sovereign, the United States said, no, Congress has authority over you for these reasons, A, B, C, D, E, and they were unable to defeat those presumptions. Hence, they were at a loss of life and liberty in pursuit of happiness, and their life and their liberty is their property. My property is my liberty. It has value. Now, my goal is to stop them actually from, not just me, I'm not going to take a settlement just to let the pirates continue. That's not enough. Something else has to happen. And the question is, what is the something else? So I appreciate your time. Any last questions or comments before Glenn takes over?
Remember that the all caps name is also on the gravestone.
Yes. The all caps name is on the gravestone. Some say, and I'll give you this little piece of tidbit, it may help you guys. I can't say this is fact. 2 things. 1, why does DC have the ability to attack me when I haven't, when that all caps name is still on my passport, it's still on my, which I don't think they would attack me under the passport, but they will attack me other ways with the all caps name. It is a slave name. Who owns that slave today? Who's responsible for it?
United States.
What if it's me? What if it's me? What if I haven't emancipated the slave that I created? They didn't create the name, I did.
Well,
I accepted the Social Security card and that account and that contract and that all caps name, my signature's on that card. Therefore, do I own that slave? And is that the reason they use that I'm an insurrection? Because I am a slave owner. Go ahead.
But also, the original contract, all right, the original bond that was created, which I call like the original sin that created it, right?
Do you have a copy of that bond?
Yes, I have several copies of it. It's on bond paper.
Your bond?
No, of the, so when a certificate is just proof of a registration. So when the mother informs, you know, on you, all right, what does the informant do? They give you up, right? So not knowing, going, hey, we must register, so she gave me up, we must register this property, all right? So that's all they're doing is registering the property. If you look on the birthday, it's about 7 days after your...
So the event of our birth was registered, and they're using that. Once you turned 18, though, what were you supposed to do in your mind?
Well, okay, first of all, that was created, this contract, okay, first of all parties had to be known to this contract. So did you participate as a baby in this contract? So
No, but you were a minor. You became 18. You answer my question. What should you have done at 18? Do you know what you should have done, perhaps? To invalidate the minor contract your mother agreed to in fraud?
Well, I mean, I didn't know this at 18, you know.
No. What should you have done? None of us knew it. But assuming you were 17 today.
Tell them I'm not dead.
Tell them?
I'm not dead.
How would you tell them?
By affidavit. I'd have to write them and tell them that I've come. You know, when Glenn talks about the minor account, you know, these are the securities that were created from that original sin, from that original birth certificate, that bond paper. All these securities, so you're traded around the world like a commodity. And so if you did come forward, say I'm not dead, I want to claim these securities, you know, Glenn argues that's the devil's money, but isn't that how I'm gonna pay for this mill? Aren't I paying for this mill with the devil's money? You know, we're using it, we have to use it. You know,
How do we
use
escape
to
it?
some
And
degree.
the current answer is crypto.
What do you say?
I
The
agree
current
with that.
answer is crypto.
And